From the Delta Sky Club
Welcome back, Miss Klein.
to the Jet Bridge, Delta Airlines relies on 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to power operations and serve customers faster. Together, we're putting 5G into the hands of ground staff so they can better assist on-the-go travelers with real-time information throughout the airport. This is elevating customer experience. This is Delta Airlines with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
This episode of the D-Loop podcast is brought to you by Goalie Nutrition. As someone who's used Goalie for quite some time, I can tell you that they're not only very good, but they're very beneficial. My favorite are the Super Green Gummies. The Super Green Gummies are uniquely crafted with a spectrum of essential nutrients such as vitamins A, B12, folic acid, and thiamine. It supports a healthy liver function, healthy nervous and immune system, digestive health, a boost to your metabolism, and overall health and well-being. There are no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or colors from artificial sources. They're vegan-friendly, gluten-free, and gelatin-free. All loyal listeners of the D-Loop podcast get a special 10% discount at checkout. Go to Goalie.com, use promo code DLEW. That's Goalie.com, use promo code DLEW. WWE Universe, the D-Loop podcast is now a brand affiliate of WWE Shop with Fanatics. Get all of your latest merchandise from your favorite WWE superstars and wear them proud. So if it's CM Punk, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, L.A. Knight, the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, or legends like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Bret the Hitman Hart, again, you can get all of your favorite merchandise over at wrestling.thedlooppodcast.com. Again, that's wrestling.thedlooppodcast.com to get all of your favorite merchandise at WWE Shop with Fanatics. If you or a loved one have been a victim of domestic violence, help is available. Speak with someone today. You can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available in English, Spanish, and over 200 languages through interpretation service. You can dial them at 1-800-799-7233. Again, that's 1-800-799-7233, or text BEGIN, that's BEGIN, to 88788. This podcast is a Believe Network and Luciete production. Welcome to another edition of the D-Loop podcast brought to you by Believe Network. I'm your host, Derrick T. Lewis. I hope the week is treating you all great. You know, this past weekend, I had the opportunity to work with ECWA once again for their high-stakes event. And let's just say things got a little physical, and I'll show that online once it becomes available. I think you guys are going to get a kick out of it. I sure did. And kudos to everybody in the locker room for looking out for me. I definitely appreciate that. I want to get it right into this week's episode. The news just broke just a few days ago that WWE Saturday Night's main event is making its triumphant return. 7-year-old Derrick is beyond excited. Variety broke the news, and I'll read it to you. It says WWE's iconic series Saturday Night's main event has set its return premiere date at NBC. Variety has learned that the professional wrestling series will air live on NBC and simulcast on Peacock on December 14th at 8 p.m. Eastern. It will originate from the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Uniondale, Long Island, New York, the site of the very first Saturday Night's main event back in 1985. WWE has also released its first promo video for the show, which can be seen. The pre-sale for the event begins actually today, if you're listening to this when this episode does drop, at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, so fans can register to receive the exclusive pre-sale offering now by visiting WWE's website. The public tickets will go on sale September 20th at 10 a.m. Eastern via Ticketmaster. Priority passes are available now through WWE's partnership on location. The passes offer things like premium seating, hospitality events with WWE superstars, exclusive photo ops, and more. This will be the first of 4 quarterly WWE primetime specials for NBC, which was first revealed when WWE signed a new 5-year rights deal with NBC Universal that saw WWE's weekly SmackDown series move back to USA Network. SmackDown has been airing on Fox since 2019, but made its USA Network return on September 13th. Peacock also continues to be the live streaming home for WWE's premium live events in the US, including upcoming events like Bad Blood, and Crown Jewel. Saturday Night's Main Event originally aired in the late night time slot on NBC. On weeks where Saturday Night Live did not have new episodes, it aired nearly 30 episodes on the broadcast network between 1985 and 1991. The show then aired 2 more episodes on Fox in 1992, and it was previously revived on NBC for 5 more episodes between 2006 and 2008. So that was the official breaking news from Variety. Kudos to them for breaking the news that Saturday Night's Main Event is coming back. And I got to tell you, I still remember the very first Saturday Night's Main Event. My God, we're talking about May of 1985, so I was about 6.5. And it was right after WrestleMania 1, the very first Saturday Night's Main Event that actually aired on May 11th, 1985, that took place, like the article said, at the Nassau Coliseum. And I'll give you the rundown of the matches. It was the U.S. Express. That was Mike Rotunda. That's the father of Bo Dallas and the late Bray Wyatt, and their uncle Barry Windham, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat with Lou Albano in their corner, and they defeated Nikolai Volkov, the Iron Sheik, and George the Animal Steel with Freddie Blassie. It was a 6-man tag. The Red and Yellow Man, he had Mr. T in his corner against Cowboy Bob Orton and Roddy Piper. There was a WWE Women's Championship match with Wendy Richter defending, and she actually did defeat the Fabulous Moolah. And believe it or not, the last match featured the Junkyard Dog versus the Duke of Dorchester, Pete Doherty. Every old school wrestling fan knows who that guy is. That guy was very, very entertaining as well. But I want to go over, like I said, a few things, regarding my memories of Saturday Night's Main Event. I'm talking about those early years, I would say between 85 and maybe right in the middle of 90. It was the former WWE CEO, and back then we only knew him as a color commentator. He was a play-by-play commentator. We didn't know he was the owner of the WWF back then, but it was him and Jesse the Body Ventura. Now, there has been rumors that Jesse Ventura, now that he is back in the fold with the WWE, he is going to be the color commentator for the revamped version of Saturday Night's Main Event. That is yet to be determined. Only time will tell. But again, we got basically almost 4 months until we know, whether or not Jesse is going to be there. But neither here nor there. Like I said, it took place of the Saturday Night Live time slot. It was 11:30 at night. So back in the day, I used to think that this was live. Like, I'm thinking these guys were legit wrestling from 11:30 p.m. to 1 p.m. To 1 a.m., I'm sorry. But again, that was the magic of the pre-internet world that we lived in back then. You didn't know the ins and outs on when things were taped or when things were live. We just didn't know. So the opening theme of Saturday Night's Main Event, in the early years, I would say between, I think, 85 and maybe 87, 88, was Obsession by Animotion, which is one of my absolute favorite songs, from the 80s. And the outro of Saturday Night's Main Event during that time was Take Me Home by Phil Collins. Now, it's really cool because the intro song that I do, that I guess not I do, but at ECWA is Obsession, which is an homage to Saturday Night's Main Event. And the outro at every show at the Monster Factory is Take Me Home by Phil Collins. So it's really cool that I get to work for 2 wrestling companies as a ring announcer that definitely pays homage to the original Saturday Night's Main Event. But like I said, I'm just going to highlight a couple of episodes that, like I said, I enjoyed when I was young, and talk about them in a little bit of detail. And like I said, the first one, I listed the matches, obviously. And again, the one match with the Red and Yellow Man and Cowboy Bob Orton. Now, for context, again, WrestleMania 1 had just taken place maybe a month or so before this event. So we're talking about it was him and Mr. T facing Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, with Cowboy Bob Orton that was actually in their corner. And of course, after Piper and Orndorff lost the match, they actually turned on Orndorff. So that's why now Bob Orton's kind of the second in command, I guess, now, and as he faced the champion. But of course, it ended in a disqualification, because guess what? Disqualifications happens on TV, right? So the cool thing about Saturday night's main event, because it was the total opposite of the wrestling that we saw on Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings with WWF Superstars of Wrestling and WWF Wrestling Challenge. A lot of those is what we call enhancement matches. So basically, if you have, I don't know, Cowboy Bob Orton, and they're wrestling a local wrestling guy or whatever, he wrestles in the area or whatever, and it's called an enhancement match because you're basically making the superstar look good. That's how it works, and that's how TV wrestling was so many years ago. And I wish they could bring some of that back. Now a lot of nowadays, some of the local talent, are security, or they may be a doctor or something like that. Shout out to Goldie, by the way, who again took the greatest Crossroads. He was the best recipient of that back at Madison Square Garden. But this is a prime example of just a local enhancement show. The enhancement talent used to be back in the day. But Saturday night's main event highlighted a lot of all the superstars, and these are some high profile matches. Now, obviously, these shows were 90 minutes long, so these matches were 6.5 minutes or 7 minutes or 4 minutes or 3 minutes. But of course, they have to have their promos, they have to have all these things. But you're really seeing the cream of the crop, on all these shows. So that was the first one. The second Saturday night's main event that I want to talk about, then highlight a little bit, was Saturday night's main event number 9. Okay, the infamous steel cage match between the Red and Yellow Man and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff with Bobby the Brain Heenan, because of course a few months back, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff delivered the most stiffest clothesline, turning on the Red and Yellow Man. And again, of course, the objective of a steel cage match is to either escape one of two ways: through the door or over the top of the cage and climb down and both feet must touch the floor. I gotta admit, they did a phenomenal job of making sure that both feet landed, and they showed where literally they were on the opposite sides of the cage and they both jumped down at the same time. I still say Mr. Wonderful's feet touched the ground first, and he should have been the WWF champion, but that's neither here nor there. But they did award the match to the Red and Yellow Man. That's what happened on that particular episode of Saturday night's main event. And it drew a 10.6 rating. That's what I'm saying. Like, people were actually staying up late to watch it. It was on a Saturday night. It wasn't a school night. My mom, or when my dad was living with me, my parents let me stay up and actually watch this stuff. Or if I'm at my grandma's house, like my grandma, because my grandma, she loved wrestling. So, of course, I'm at my grandma's house. We would always watch Saturday night's main event. That was one of the ones that this particular episode stands out in the back of my mind because of that iconic shot of they did the split screen, and they did such a great job. Love them here. WWF was ahead of the curve when it came to the entertainment value with the camera angles, the split cam and the editing. Because remember, this stuff was taped back then. So you figure this was taped December 14th, 1986, and it didn't air until January to the new year. So they had all of the rest of December to edit this episode to make sure it was delivered right. And that took place in Hartford, Connecticut at the Hartford Civic Center, which was the site of WrestleMania 11, by the way. All right, moving on. Saturday night's main event number 12 that actually aired in October 3rd to be exact. It took place in Hershey, Pennsylvania. The Macho Man Randy Savage, he was challenging the Honky Tonk Man for the Intercontinental Championship. Obviously, the Macho Man had Miss Elizabeth in his corner, and the Honky Tonk Man had Jimmy Hart in his corner. And this basically was the formation of the mega powers, because of course there's, Randy Savage. He's getting the best of the Honky Tonk Man, and all of a sudden the Hart Foundation come in and they start to beat up the Macho Man, and they start to attack Elizabeth. And next thing you know, the Red and Yellow Man comes out and saves the Macho Man and Elizabeth. And they did this really, really cool handshake. And that is what started the Mega Powers. So this is an iconic episode because the Mega Powers was basically featured in the grand scheme of things for the next. They were neck and neck in regards to at the hip, so to speak, for the next 2 years. If you really think about the whole timeline, you're going from this, and then you're going to WrestleMania 4, where Red and Yellow Man saves the Macho Man and prevents the Andre the Giant from interfering. The Macho Man, we figure Red and Yellow hits Ted DiBiase with the chair. Macho Man delivers the elbow, and Macho Man wins the tournament to become the new undisputed WWF champion. And then, of course, they had the tag team match at SummerSlam against the Mega Bucks with Andre and DiBiase. They had the Survivor Series match where they were co-captains, facing the African Dream, Akeem, and the Big Boss Man and their team. Then the turmoil started at the Royal Rumble the following year in '89, where Hogan accidentally threw out the Macho Man. Macho Man gets in his face, and Elizabeth had to come down to kind of ease things and smooth things over. Then the February 3rd edition of the main event, which is a Friday night version of Saturday Night's main event, when Macho Man turns on Hulk Hogan. He turns on the Red and Yellow Man. And that leads to WrestleMania 5. Then that leads to SummerSlam, where Savage and Zeus take on the Red and Yellow Man and Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And then, of course, at the end of the year, they had the no-holds-barred steel cage match with Zeus and Macho Man against Red and Yellow and Brutus the Barber. So this handshake from October of '87 basically had those two, like I said, at the hip with each other for 2 years. Incredible. That's how monumental Saturday Night's main event was. That's how monumental Saturday Night's the legacy of this show. And a lot of fans, when the news came out and WWE put it on their social media and they had Obsession playing on the video montage, I said, it's coming back, baby. So excited that they're actually bringing back an iconic theme that brings back so many memories and the nostalgia of it as well.
At your job, do you ever have to deal with a nose roller? How about a snub pulley? Well, if you're installing a new conveyor belt system, dealing with the different components can sound like you're speaking a foreign language. Luckily, you've got a team ready to help. Grainger's technical product specialists are fluent in maintenance, repair, and operations. So whenever you want to talk shop, just reach out. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you're a facilities manager at a warehouse and your HVAC system goes down, it can turn up the heat, literally. But don't sweat it, Grainger has you covered. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products for all your operations, including warehouse HVAC maintenance. And even better, they offer access to experts and fast delivery, so you and your warehouse can both keep your cool. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Well, next we're going to have Saturday Night's Main Event 31. That actually was the last one of, obviously this is the last one that took place, but it was on Fox. I really didn't like these. The ones that was on Fox, I really didn't dig. I didn't like the presentation. I didn't like the logo. I really didn't like much of it. But the fact that it was ending the run for basically, my God, you're talking about from 1985 until 1992. Like, it was a 7-year run. And, of course, it was the Ultimate Maniacs. There was Macho Man and the Ultimate Warrior, as they took on Money Incorporated, which consists of Ted DiBiase and IRS, managed by Jimmy Hart. There was Bret Hart defending the WWE Championship against Papa Shango. He did defeat him by a submission. And the shocking of it all, Shawn Michaels had defeated the British Bulldog to become the Intercontinental Champion. So that was Shawn Michaels' very first singles championship. That was his first well, technically there was, this, although people knew, in reference to a previous Saturday Night's Main Event going back to 90, where the Hart Foundation had defended the tag titles against the Rockers, which was Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. The ropes broke. It was supposed to be a 2 out of 3 falls match, and the top rope broke. And they had to somehow, some way finish the match. And the Rockers actually became the WWF Tag Team Champions, but being that it was taped and because, the match didn't look cosmetically the way they wanted to, they ended up not showing the match at all, and thus the Rockers ended up giving the titles back to the Hart Foundation. But although technically that was Shawn Michaels' second championship, but this was his first true singles championship. And the cool thing is that for the first time in a while, you had your singles champions, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, they were really starting to institute the wrestling end of things, and not so much of the big bulky guys, but it was really starting to show that, hey, let's give these smaller guys an opportunity too. And look what happened for the next 5 years. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels would be neck and neck, kind of how the Red and Yellow Man and Randy Savage were, the Macho Man. Well, of course, Saturday Night's Main Event did eventually return. It did return. So we're talking about 2006, and it was really to set up for WrestleMania 22. And it features 5 matches, and of course there was really no time limit on the Big Show defeated Carlito. He defeated him in no time. Of course, it featured the tag match of a triple. As a matter of fact, it was a handicap tag team match. Now that I think about it, it was Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, and Randy Orton taking on John Cena and Triple H. Now the cool part about this match is the fact that you had basically the 2 main events from both shows going against each other. So you had representing Raw, it was going to be the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania 22 with John Cena defending against Triple H. And then, of course, on the SmackDown side, you had the World Heavyweight Championship with Kurt Angle defending against Rey Mysterio and Randy Orton. So it was a nice mix and match of giving everybody a preview of what was going to happen at WrestleMania a few weeks down the line. Then there was here's the entertainment part of the night, where Stone Cold Steve Austin, he defeated JBL by disqualification in a beer drinking contest. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for all intents and purposes, we all know when it comes to the drinking beer. Now, again, we got 2 Texas guys in there. Of course, we knew JBL when he was in the APA. Of course, you had to pay him and Farouk with money or beer. But, of course, you have Stone Cold Steve Austin. All he did was down those Steve wires every single night. But, of course, the next match was Mickie James and Trish Stratus taking on Candice Michelle and Victoria. And, again, the irony of this match was that Mickie James was going to be challenging Trish Stratus at WrestleMania for the Women's Championship, in which, in fact, Mickie James did shock the world. I did not think that was going to happen, because Mickie had only been with the company for just a couple of months, but they were teasing this match to happen. She was very obsessive with Trish and all those things. So, and of course, the last match was Shane McMahon had defeated Shawn Michaels, and of course, that was getting ready for the the former CEO of WWE, and their street fight, because this match was a street fight as well. And of course, they got the best of Shawn, but of course, the former CEO of WWE got his comeuppance at WrestleMania. He got the crap kicked out of him. Oh my God. Unbelievable. Now, I can actually say that I was at a taping of a Saturday Night's Main Event. I was actually there in Madison Square Garden. They were taping Raw, SmackDown, ECW, as well as Saturday Night's Main Event. So we were there for quite a bit, for the taping. Shout out to my boy Bob G, that I've known for the past 20 years. He was like, yo, you want to go to Saturday Night's Main Event, the taping? I'm like, sure. So it was really cool, to go. And there was a tag match with Batista and Kane defeating Finlay and the Great Khali. There was John Cena. He had defeated Carlito. CM Punk actually was in this Saturday Night's Main Event. It was him and the Boogeyman tagging up to defeat John Morrison and Big Daddy V, formerly known as Viscera, King Mabel, God rest his soul. But the highlight of the match, the highlight of this particular episode was a boxing match between Matt Hardy and former World Boxing Heavyweight Champion Evander Holyfield. And that's when MVP was and Matt Hardy had these, they were tag team champions. And of course, MVP was the U.S. champion, and they were doing all these challenges. Who was the best of the two? Who was the better athlete? Who was the better wrestler? Who threw a football better? Who shot a basketball better? And now they're going to see who's going to box. So now you got Holyfield, and this is I couldn't believe I was actually watching this. And from time to time, I'll go back and I'll go back into the archives and I watch this match. And the still shot of Matt Hardy and Evander Holyfield in Madison Square Garden was a pretty cool shot. But nonetheless, MVP got his comeuppance in that, and I think Evander Holyfield saw the light, saw what that no good MVP was doing to his tag team partner Matt Hardy. So it was a very entertaining night, and that was probably one of my just the fact that I can actually say that I've been to a Saturday Night's Main Event, and that's when they were using that song "Boom" by POD, which I thought was really cool. But I just felt that when they brought back Saturday Night's Main Event back in 2006, and this is no disrespect to POD and that song "Boom," that song gets me amped, because that's on my playlist when I work out. But I just felt that the Obsession song or the Saturday Night's Main Event theme that Jim Johnston had written, you know what I mean? I just felt as though that kind of fit. You know what I mean? That's just, maybe it's just the old school fan in me that, nonetheless, I am so glad and happy that they're bringing that back. So again, December 14th, that's it's not too far away. Next thing you think about it, this summer went by so fast, and I know fall's going to go fast. And the next thing you know, holidays will be here, and I'm sure it'll be a nice holiday gift, to give, your kid or your loved ones or whoever it might be to go to Long Island, New York and check out some Saturday Night's Main Event. Now, I don't know if I'm able to go because I do have a wrestling booking at the Monster Factory that day. So it will be cutting it seriously close, to get there probably maybe, 8:30, 8:45. And it's like, why am I going to do that? So nonetheless, I'm going to probably watch it from home, and, get some snacks or whatever the case may be and enjoy 2 hours of professional wrestling. And I can't wait to see the presentation of it. I hope that Jesse the Body Ventura is on color commentary, and I hope it's Cole, Michael Cole, that's on, play-by-play, so I can hear, "Shut up, Cole!" That old line that he used to give the former WWE CEO, many years ago, back in the heyday, on the early days of Saturday Night's Main Event. Well, again, this was going to be a short episode. I just wanted to get this one out there because I definitely wanted to give, my opinion, on, the return of this iconic show. And I hope that you all, enjoy it when it does air. And I can't wait to see which matches are going to be announced, when that time does come. But as always, you can follow the show on social media at the D-Lou Podcast. That's on X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. My social media is at The Real DT Lou, with the exception of Facebook, which is Derrick T. Lewis official page. You can go to my Pro Wrestling Tees t-shirt store at pwt.derricklewis.com. And of course, my main store, you can go to shop.derricklewis.com. Don't forget to subscribe. You can subscribe to the D-Lou Podcast no matter which platform that you're listening on. So if it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. You can go to my YouTube channel, Derrick T. Lewis, or at The Real DT Lou, and you can hit subscribe so you'll get all new content every single week on YouTube and all other platforms. Well, I'm going to get out of here, and as I always say, no matter what it is you do in life, always remember to make it count. See you next time.